to talk to you a little bit about some of the new stuff that I've been writing on the blog, because it's been going through a bit of a regeneration, a bit of an update on some of the theories and some of the ideas from the past. The first one that got redone recently was the user journey, which originally I had sort of coined as the EEEE journey. Enroll, Enthuse, Engage, Endear, and Endgame. And I sort of wanted to move it around a little bit because it didn't seem to fit the way I was thinking anymore, and there was a problem with the middle of it for me, which I'll come to in a minute. But the new version is the gamification user journey, and it starts with discovery, onboarding, immersion, mastery, and then replay. Now, the blog goes into more detail in this, but it's now gone up to 5 phases because I felt that I'd missed out discovery phase, which a lot of people have started to include in their journeys now, which makes good sense. I'd included mastery, and I kind of lumped mastery and the replay value into one thing and wanted to split those up, because really, once you've mastered something, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to replay it. Doesn't necessarily mean the system allows you to then use altruism or that sort of thing to improve. So I wanted to include an entirely separate step to sort of inform the thought process around what happens on replays. Is there a replay? But it's the bit in the middle that I really was interested in as well, because Engage and Enthuse didn't make much sense, but immersing, that was much more useful to me, because that's kind of the crux of the gamification. Once you've got somebody in there, you have to try and immerse them into what they're doing, and that's the really difficult bit, which is why I updated another one of the various odds and ends that I've created over time, the action feedback loop. Now, before I had a very simple system, and it was something along the lines of you had an action, you had feedback, and you had a modifier, and that was enough for people. But it wasn't, again, it didn't sort of sit quite right with my new understanding of how people behave, and I wanted to try and build something a little bit more useful for people. So released a video recently about it, and I thought I'd talk a bit about it here and then see how it all links together. So the action feedback loop starts with a call to action, which then the user will act upon. The system provides feedback, the user acts, the system provides feedback, and you're into that feedback loop. But the key thing here is that every now and again it has to change. Now, if you look at flow theory, one of the things that people talk about in gamification quite a lot, one of the key aspects there is that the skill and challenge need to stay at similar levels relative to the user. So I am really good at something, I need a harder challenge than somebody who's not so good at something. So an example I used was something which would be kind of a grind for a black belt, a practice just going over and over again in the same movements for a black belt in martial arts, is actually a huge challenge for a white belt. So they perceive the challenge differently, even though the challenge is the same, because their skill level is lower than the black belt, it becomes much harder for them. So this perceived challenge and skill needs to increase over time, because as people continue to do something, their skill increases. And another one of the various frameworks that I was talking about a while back was how you grind to mastery, which caused a bit of talk recently. The idea is that there are 4 phases to moving along the flow. You're grinding, you're leveling, you're throwing challenges in, and then you're mastering. And you go around in various sort of, it bounces around a bit, but those are the 4 basic phases you go through. You keep improving, you need a challenge occasionally, you improve a bit more, you level up, and then you've mastered that bit. But that doesn't mean that's the end of the journey. Again, going back to the black belt, getting your black belt is just the start of the next journey. So in the action feedback loop, there is a state change. So at some point, something has to change, whether it's a level up, whether it's a power up, something happens which changes the challenge, changes what the user needs to do. So that was why the action feedback loop had to be made compared to some of the stuff I was using before. You can consider all of this as a sort of spiral, with the user starting at the middle of the spiral and slowly but surely working their way out to mastery. So the call to action, that's the very beginning, that's their discovery, right at the start of it, which then onboards them gently. User action and feedback keeps happening, state changes happen, and slowly but surely they come out to the top of the spiral. That's where your mastery bit is. Now, as I said, that might be the end of the journey. Hitting mastery might be the finish. But you could always link on another spiral that you start in the middle of. And you start again. Challenges will be harder because your skill level is harder, but again, the same process. You're spiraling out, turn out, until eventually you've mastered that, and so on and so on. But you have to get the immersion right. You have to get the action feedback loops right, because otherwise people will just drop off because they're bored, because the challenge isn't enough, because they're frustrated, because their skill set's not high enough. So it all has to work together neatly for your gamified system to work properly. And that's where the trick is, and that's what you have to practice and get good at and sort of get feedback from. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting. If you're interested in me doing more video blogs like this, then I will do. Just let me know in the comments. And until next time, enjoy gamifying. Cheers.